What you do is, man, that
All right. So here we are. We're live. Paul's here today. Hey,
hello,
Paul, how you been?
man. I've been busy, and I've been good. I've been busy, and uh, the life of an entrepreneur. It's you know,
I know. I know.
you
It's
know, you know.
it's it's been too long. So
Yeah.
thanks for coming today. We're just
Thanks
gonna
for the
talk
invite.
about we're gonna do some catching up because it has been a while and we got a lot has happened. You've been doing a lot. I've been doing a lot. A lot of things have happened. Uh, Markets have changed. A lot of things have changed. So where do we start today? Where do we want to start?
Man, you know what? I do have a question for you. Do you recall the last time? I mean, we were at Matt's together, right? And
Yeah.
I don't remember the last time that we did a live. But I do know at Matt's. After that, I became really hyper focused, right, on
Yes.
what I'm working on. But prior to that, it was in the works. So if you want to, I don't know, start there, or if you want to start,
Well,
I mean,
it
wherever.
was May. It was May. I think the last
That
time
was
we did
May.
a show.
That was May.
I think so
Okay.
because then we get back from Matt's at the end of April, right? First part of May,
Yeah. See that I'm fuzzy, but yeah, somewhere in there.
if I remember right. Yeah.
Somewhere in there.
So I guess let's start with that. Let's just start with
Okay.
what you've been doing because it's a big project and I think it's nearly ready to go, isn't it?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Very good. Now, I'm going to say this. When you and I first got together, you asked me, "Hey, who promotes you?" And I said, I'm horrible at that, right? I'm
Yeah.
still horrible at that, right? So, as far as just talking about it from the heart, right? It's something that I've always wanted to do, a project that I've always wanted to do. And I don't even look at it as a project, right? It just seems like it's just a part of my life, right? I wanted to, in the industry of sales, I wanted to put something together that I felt like people could go to and feel like, you know what, I can do this, right? I wanted to be able to put something together. Now, trucking just happens to be a vehicle to that because I've done sales forever, right? I've been in sales for a long time. Professionally, when I got out of college, I got into sales. So with this project, um, the idea is sales. And when I say sales, I'm talking about having a business, something that you're needing to promote. How do I get it out there? How do I what's the process of being able to develop clients to get business? With any business, if you don't have clients, if you don't have paying customers, right? Is it a
Mhm.
business? I think
It's
they
not
call
going to
that
be
a
much of
hobby.
one.
Huh?
Yeah. It's not going to be
Yeah.
much of one.
No, no, it's not going to be much of one. I think they call that a hobby, right? But you can turn a hobby into a business, but you do need this aspect of sales. So as far as that goes with the project, it's called Elevate FR. Well, it's called Elevate is what it's called, right? The website is elevatefr8.com. So that's elevatefr8.com. And it's all about going to the next level, right?
Yeah.
That's why we call it elevate. We're talking about taking your business and not doing the same old, getting the same results, complaining about that, but it's about doing something about it, right? And so with sales, I mean, in our industry, we know it goes up, it goes down, and there are reasons that we can talk about. But the idea is, well, wait a minute, how can I take control, right, of this aspect of my business and really make it something that's prosperous, right? And there's going to be times where there are things that are challenging times. We can still be prosperous during challenging times, and of course, when things are going well, we can be prosperous. But at any rate, going to the website, there are various things that we're going to be offering. Right off the bat, one of the big ones that's coming out is our CRM. And if you are not familiar with a CRM, which is Customer Relationships Management System, we do have on our blog where you can go and you can read about that. And it talks about CRM and it talks about how it can be applied within our industry, how that benefits you,
Hmm.
and not just as a carrier, but also as a broker, as a dispatcher, as a shipper. So we're not talking about excluding anyone, right? Because we all have to live in this world together, or this freight world together, right? We all have to coexist. And it doesn't make sense to exclude brokers. It doesn't make sense to exclude dispatchers or whatever the case is. We just want to get better at what we do, right? And
Right.
be able to really, so to speak, live the dream. So as far as that goes, we're talking about a CRM. It allows you to manage that process of when you have a client. So let's say you have one client, right? Not even a client, a prospect. What do you do with that? As a matter of fact, I'm going to ask you, Adam. I don't mean to put you on the spot.
Oh, that's
Okay.
okay.
All right. Okay, cool. And I know that you're really into all this stuff, which is great. But if you have an opportunity, right? Something comes up, you're communicating with someone and you notice that they have freight, right? Where do you go with that? I mean, what would you do? You find out, oh, wow.
Start trying to make contact with them and have conversations with them.
Okay. All right. So you would try to reach out. Okay. So now when I say you find out they have freight, we're just talking about as a company, right?
Okay.
Right. So then you're going to find out who that person is, right?
Right. You want to learn about the company, see what they do, get some advanced knowledge before you start reaching out.
Okay. All right. So you're gathering all this information, right? And you're finding all this stuff out. Now you found this out. Now you're going to try to reach out, right? The idea is to connect with the person that makes those decisions. Would that make sense?
Right.
Okay. So once we've done that, there's a process from the time you say hello, right?
Correct.
And then from there, what are you going to do? I mean, once you make the call in your head, where are you at with that? Are you ready to make that call?
Funny you ask. Because
Bring it on.
This is something that I've been doing that you probably don't know about. I've been doing some additional sales training with a guy that I met. Let me tell you, I had him on my show and you watched. His name is Nick. His new book just came out, Selling Inspired. So I do some of that.
Yeah.
I hired him because, like I always said, if you can't do it, hire somebody else to do it. Surround yourself with smarter people. Get some training. And here, I'm not going to show it because I paid money for this. At about 10 pages here, we came up with a bunch of different scripts. Now, these scripts are something that I can adapt on the fly, but I don't want to be calling and say, hey, Jim, you got some freight. I got trucks. Don't know, stammering and stuttering. Where do I go with it?
Yeah.
I got guidelines now. I got a script, a draft. I got a cold call, the warm call. I've got the gatekeeper part. We worked on that, and I instituted a lot of your stuff here. I had some input in this. Handling objections. This page, we got cold call to the decision maker. We've got cold emails. We got the voicemail script. We've got, what else we got here? We got a whole bunch of things here. And I got, 10 pages here. So that's what I'm going to do when I make contact. I know what I'm going to do. I have a plan. I'm not, especially in the beginning, going to deviate too much from this script because it's a very good one. And until I get really good at it, I feel like if I deviate off the script, I'm going to start, going off in some territories I probably shouldn't, Yeah. It's going to take a lot of practice. And this is not a script like when you call somebody, oh, we have this load here, here is the load. It's conversational. It's not a script like you would think when you call Verizon for tech support, right? Where they can't tell you anything. No, it's questions to ask and say, okay, if this, then that, right? And you combine it with the knowledge in your head and you have a conversation.
Absolutely.
So that's what I'm going to do.
Absolutely.
Since you asked.
No, hey, you know what? That is a great answer, right? Because here's the thing with Elevate, we actually offer our clients a script, right? That basically does that from the standpoint of having a conversation all the way to sorry, the lights just flickered. So
they've been flickering behind you all the whole time, but it's pretty neat.
Have they really? They've been flickering?
in the
Okay.
hallway back there. Looks like you're in a disco.
Oh, out there. You know what? The Olympics is in there. Sorry about that. That's where we got the Olympics.
Wow.
It's
Okay.
playing in there. So, at any rate, so as far as that goes, and then we have the objections, right? And then we have how to handle those, right? But here's the bigger part of it in my mind, right? What do you do after all that? Because once you do even have that conversation, once you do
Yes.
reach the right person, and then you do have this conversation, it doesn't end there, right? There is a process beyond just the one call,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so, and when I say one call, it doesn't necessarily mean every interaction is a call, right? It can be in person, right? So what we're talking about can apply whether you're in person, whether you're out, just out and about, And I remember one of my clients, she was at lunch and she was going around this buffet and she just happened to talk to this lady and they struck up a good conversation. She was with her kids and her husband. And come to find out that this lady, her husband was one of the heirs or owners of one of the largest grocery store chains on the Northeast, right? And they had a great, she said, you need to talk to my husband, and they had a great conversation and they actually met to see how they could do business, right? But
Mm-hmm.
with that interaction, she knew where to go with that conversation. You know what I mean? So it doesn't necessarily just mean when I'm on the phone, how do I have this interaction? But regardless of that, still, it's what happens after that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where do I go with it? So with the CRM, it allows you to nurture that opportunity, right?
Right.
So we're talking about nurturing the lead, right? And being able to go the next step because in my opinion, most of the opportunities are lost in the follow-up. Someone might say, oh, they didn't give me a call back. Oh, I didn't want to bother them. Oh, I forgot. Oh, I got busy. Oh, lots of O's, right? And all these O's create holes and everybody and everything goes down and it's lost opportunity, right? So with the CRM, we want to give you a systematic way to follow this up, right? So with the CRM, this information, as you're talking about, have the great script, but make sure that you're going to be on track. You're sending
Mm-hmm.
them the right information, whatever that is. The CRM will allow you to do that. Will allow you to, follow up, make that next call, right? To be able to follow it up all the way to the point where you earn business. Because here's the thing, you can reach out to that one person. You're not going to get their business. I would say this, and you tell me if I'm wrong, Adam. After, once you reach out to that person, what's the percentage chance that you are going to get business from them after that one interaction? What do you think? Do you think it's
Just
100?
about zero. I mean, you're probably 10% or less.
I would agree with you, right? It's probably, they might even say next time you talk to them, they might even say, okay, who are you? You know what I mean? I don't care how great that interaction might be, but that could happen, right?
Yes.
So you have to know how to continue that, right? That doesn't mean go all the way back to the beginning and start all over again, right? But the CRM does help you to move this process along to whether it's that seventh interaction, right? Because there might be times along the way you try to reach out and they're not available, right? But the CRM is going to allow you to continue that process to the point where ultimately you get an opportunity. Now, that first opportunity, it might be the summertime, and that's not when they move freight. It might be not until fourth quarter, right? So you have to stay with it, right? Now, if you do that, you have a better chance of getting the business. Think about it this way too. The Super Bowl. A lot of people watch the Super Bowl for what?
Commercials.
Bingo, right? The commercials. When you make this call, Adam, you're a commercial, my man. You know what I'm saying? That's exactly what you're doing. You have your script, right? You're going to call multiple people and you're going to make the calls and what have you. But the next time you call is going to be a little different. These commercials, they show this commercial. They spend a lot of money. Why? Because they get eyeballs, right? There are eyeballs watching. So they spend all this money. You have your commercial. They see it. They know that, man, somebody's going to buy, maybe, but they have more commercials after the Super Bowl, right? And then these commercials go on, even different commercials. they put these commercials in front of you because they know, one, probably the first time you might miss it. The second time you might ignore it. The third time you could change the channel. The fourth time you might stick with it. The fifth time the jingle just might register. The fifth, sixth time, seventh time, all of a sudden you break something. You're like, I need some glue. What? Wait a minute. Oh yeah. Let me. I'm gonna go get that product that I saw the other day. When they saw it 6 months ago, right?
Yeah.
It finally
Yes.
registers for a reason. And now they go out and buy the glue, and all of a sudden they have a customer, right? So it's the same idea, if that makes any sense. DIY, now you have contacted them. You contacted them again and again and again, and they're like, okay, hey, let me give you a chance, right? Let me give you a shot. The CRM allows you, helps you to nurture that process.
Yeah, I use a notebook at the moment. And
Okay.
it's getting to be a jumbled mess. Sooner than later here, I'm probably going to have to switch to something like this. I'm tending to start forgetting things. So they need to be committed to writing. They need to be
Yeah.
tracked. So,
Yeah.
you know,
No, that's a good point that you bring up. I mean, for me, honestly, I have tons of notebooks, right? And some of them, you know what, Adam, it's so funny because some of them I can look at and they'll have the same thing that I wrote in another notebook. You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah.
this is insane. It's like, you know,
Oh, you mean with the
but
400 sticky notes I got all over my desk here? Some
sticky
of them
notes.
a list of where I put my lists.
Exactly. You know, so
Yeah.
you know, with this all, what we're talking about is just being able to, not just being able to follow and nurture, but one, a simple way of doing it. Secondly, a easy way to doing it. Thirdly, a way that's not going to take up a lot of your time. You know, I mean, Adam, I don't know if you have a schedule where you say once a week, this is what I'm going to do, right? But the CRM, since it's all right there, everything is right there, you'll be able to say, okay, Thursday at 1 o'clock, this is what I'm going to do. Take a half an hour or whatever, do that, and you're done. And you can go on and do whatever it is that you do. Take an hour or whatever it is, right? And then you move on, but it's right there. You see what I mean? So, but there's a ton of other things that Elevate is going to be offering beyond just the CRM, but that's what we're going to be opening up.
Let's save that then for when it's ready. We don't
Okay.
want to put it's not ready. Let's put it all together and we'll come back to it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So just catching up here
Yeah.
before we get into freight and stuff. You started a YouTube channel. It's about
Yes,
time.
sir.
It's about time, sir. So I posted the link in the comments here.
Okay.
Everybody, if you wouldn't mind, check it out, subscribe. There's a lot of people out here trying to help, do good things. Paul is one of these people. I've tried many times to find a way to snatch Paul up before somebody else does that has a whole bunch of money. So he's here for us now until somebody comes along and makes him a very rich man. I've told you that many times. Came up with a lot of harebrained schemes trying to keep you, but no, there's a lot of people out here like Paul in the community. You know, we talked to Carrier Check, we talked to Paul, we talked to Nick is a good one. Subscribe, listen, because what you surround yourself with and what you listen to is gonna dictate who you are and what you do. So if you want to do better, definitely check out Paul's channel and everybody like him.
Wow.
So we're excited with that. It's doing well. Congratulations. Keep on putting out the content. And the clean shaven baby face Paul is a good look for you.
You know what? That when you say baby face, man, it's whenever I feel a little old, then I just just take it all off, and it gives me a few years. So I appreciate the compliment on that. Man, I got to say this though, when you talk about like podcasts, so for me, it's pre-recorded right now, and we got a lot of ideas, right, and excited about it. But man, the work that you put in, you just looking at the videos and just seeing what you do, it's very impressive. I mean, when you're behind the scenes, right, and you're trying to put stuff together, At least this is the way I see it with my experience. It's a lot of work, and all the other things that you do, and then you doing what you do now, getting on online and being able to bring the content that you bring. Man, I commend you.
Well, thank you. It's,
Yeah.
in all honesty, it's been lacking lately.
Mm.
This whole building and business thing and handling all your responsibilities is a full-time, 2-3 full-time jobs in themselves. And then like you said, being an entrepreneur, I do other things as well. But there's a lot of content I've passed on or haven't recorded that I wish I would have. A lot of great learning experiences. I'll have to do some follow-up videos on that. But let's go back to what we used to do, right? And talk about freight. And we've built our relationship on forming relationships, right? With direct freight customers. And talk about that for a second. If we go back, it's got to be almost 4 years now, isn't it? 3 years at least.
I mean, it was, yeah, I think start of COVID or somewhere in there. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because freight was still smoking hot. Yeah, so it would have been 2020 and possibly even 2019.
Mm-hmm.
And from the beginning, we talked about relationships, building relationships, pushing relationships, even when it was more profitable to go to a broker freight.
Yeah, absolutely.
Freight,
Absolutely.
not going to last.
Yeah.
So I listened to you. It's part of the, you know what? This is all your fault. I listened to you and created all these problems for me, right? But they're good problems. They're good problems. Yeah. You're always going to have problems in trucking. It's just pick your problems. Which problems would you rather have, right? You can have these problems or these problems. My problems are good problems. My problems have been partially due to listening to you, and this is not a bad thing. This is not a knock on you, but partially due to listening to you. I am having mostly the opposite problem from what other people are having. So, a lot of the common industry struggles right now is freight is slow, right? Volumes are down, rates are low. A lot of people going out of business because their costs are out of control. Rates and revenues are down, and I'm having, I guess you could say, the opposite of those problems. Has it been a little slower? It has. I can't say it's been as busy as we'd like it to be. I think the worst part for us, for me, is behind us. Is it still slow a little bit? But if we could just be like this, everything would be great. But we're constantly stumbling across new opportunities. I don't know if that's because I'm just open-minded enough to see them or lucky. We talked a lot about team building in the past, and I worked hard to put a good team around me.
Yeah.
And they help with that because they see the direct benefit of it. So, I have people that are, it's funny. You can build something and not even know. So, some of the drivers, when they call somebody, they'll start asking the questions.
Yeah.
Hey, do you have this often? What's the schedule? What do you need? What can we do for you? And before you know it, they're like, hey, Adam, I got these people. They want a truck every Tuesday, at 52 weeks a year. I'm like,
I love it. Well,
that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. And we've been doing a lot of that. It's to the point where, hey, we gotta slow down a little bit. We're overcommitting here. I don't have enough trucks and people to put towards all these, regular things. I wish that wasn't the case. So, my struggle has been keeping up and fulfilling our obligations, which is, I'd rather have that problem,
Yeah.
So, and then have things paid less, of course, but we knew that was going to happen.
Yeah,
COVID rates are not sustainable.
Of course. Absolutely.
But I feel like, I was around a long time before that, so I know what normal rates are, and I think that the rates on these things are pretty good. So,
yeah.
Either way, there are going to be problems. They're going to be stressful. Pick your poison, I guess. But I'm happy to have the problems I got. rather than sitting here and want to meet payroll, I just have the problem of how am I going to cover these loads,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
thank you for that. I listen to you. I value your information. I think other people that listen to half of, the discussions we've had and that you've taught and brought to the table, are probably doing okay right now, or doing well. I hazard to say. I know there's
Yeah.
a couple people in the chat here that have worked on building their business and done what you teach, and they're still here. It's a credit to somebody right now to say I'm still here.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. There's, and when you say that, there's one of the things that I hear you say is that freight is out there. You know what I mean? There's freight out there. Now, I'm not going to say it was, and that fluctuates. That always fluctuates, and sometimes it fluctuates in the sense that it depends upon the capacity too, right? How many trucks or how much equipment is out there and available, and there's still quite a bit that exists compared to the freight.
Abundance. Yes.
Right. Yeah. And comparatively speaking, right? Because there can be a ton of freight available and not enough trucks. We still have the same number of trucks. But so comparatively speaking, yeah, we do have more than needed. But it's again, going back to having a business. You have a business there that you're running, and your people, your drivers and whomever else, they are carrying on that conversation, right? You all are a unit, right? And so when I think about it, like way back in the day when I was in corporate America, I would talk to someone else in a different department. I love going to different departments, right, to get to know. I guess that's a part of the relationship building, right? I would go to another floor and I would communicate with someone in a whole IT, right, or communicate with someone else in a whole different department, and just build those relationships within the company. But what I found was it didn't seem like everyone was on the same page, right? So IT might be doing a thing, and then this is what was important to them, right? Or this other department, in regards to billing or what have you. I understand that their interest is different than in sales, but it just seemed like we were off, right? That we were not all in the idea of
On the same common goal.
Same common goal. And in sales, for me, it was, we want to bring in more business. We want to develop that exposure. We want to grow the company. We want to, we really want to bring something to the audience, or, our clients, that they could use, and that we could be a part of that growth for them. Is going to grow the company, right? So what you're saying is that, your people are on the same page. And so when you guys are doing this, and then it creates a situation where you might have too much opportunity, right? Would you prefer that over
Yes.
not having?
Now, for full disclosure, some of that not having enough is my fault, because there's been a few times I've brought somebody in and we're just not on the same page. We're over here and they're over here.
Yeah.
And what we're trying to do is over here, not over here with them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it just doesn't fit.
Yeah.
And then at that point it's like, well, this is what we do. So,
yeah,
it's just not going to work out.
Yeah.
And I've had there's definitely no rule by committee over here, but I do value other people's input.
Sure.
And when I'm thinking about, having somebody move on, I'll go to some other people and say, hey, is this not something I should do? But hey, this person's not interacting with these customers well.
Sure.
And that directly affects them, my other people. So
yeah,
it's fair to have that discussion.
Yeah,
now,
absolutely.
They're not going to tell me what to do, but I do value that input. Mm-hmm. So, if a driver says, hey, I saw this other person doing this with the customer or with the freight, and that affects all of us, that's important to know. And I'm glad they're paying attention. they know that what one person does affects everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't let somebody go rogue or not be with the program, right? Either you're with the program or you're not. And now there's areas where if you're not with the program, we can do some other things.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We can run other freight, do spot market, but these things over here are special,
Mm-hmm.
right? They're special. So
Yeah.
you want to be part, you got to act, you got to be special to be part of that.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's the struggle and a balance.
Yeah. It's like I always say, like going to the store, I can go take this route to go to the store. You might not agree with, and you might think, you need to go this other route, right? Both routes are going to get us there, right? Both routes can be successful in that effort, right? But if I am, and this is just the way it is, and it's not to say it in this way, but you're running the ship there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
when I'm driving, we're taking this route,
right? Exactly. And
I'm driving the ship.
Yeah, and so it's not that it's a bad route, it's a route that works for you. It's a good route, and that's the route that you're gonna go. If you want to go that route, okay, that's okay too. And one other thing, I don't know how difficult this is, and I'm putting this out there, and I know we didn't talk about it. The fr8connect.com, I'm moving away from that. We still are on it, right? Yeah, but we're moving from that because we're promoting the Elevate, and there is where like one of the things you had mentioned, you said like having everybody on the same page. We're going to have a component where it actually helps support that, where everyone in your organization is on the same page. We have something that will allow you to, if you need to pivot, right? It's going to be something that allows you to do that real easily, put that information in, and it's going to give you something back that says, okay, here's our direction. And it can be shared amongst everyone in your organization. And then, you always know what direction we're headed, as a company. So, but yeah, it's going to be Elevate, fr8.com, ELEVATE, fr8.com. So sorry I didn't mention, because I didn't mention that to some other people as well, but
okay, good to know.
But at any rate, yeah, so there's just where, like, right now, man, for you having this problem or these problems, then it becomes a question of, okay, what do we do? You know what I mean? Even then, what do you do?
You and I have had this discussion, in private, and what did I say? I was talking to you. I think this was one of my harebrained schemes to tie you up. I said, Paul, I'm at this point, right? This fork in the road, a precipice, whatever.
Yeah.
I see the prize in front of me.
Yeah.
And now it's been a few years of doing this and doing what you've taught and other people have taught me. I see this prize, but now I know how to get it.
Mm-hmm.
Now I know how other people get it. I see other people. I've always seen other people around me like, how did this idiot get 50 trucks? Like, I'm way smarter than him. Well, I didn't know what he knew.
Yeah.
And to a certain point, sometimes it's who you know also. And
absolutely.
Take it upon myself to work towards that.
Yeah.
That part's hard for me. But I'm at this point where it's in front of me. I see it there. I know how to get it. Do I want to go get it? Because now I feel like for the first time in my life, I can. Or do I want to take the easy way out and just either maintain or, I'm not that far from retirement. I've built a decent thing for myself. I don't have to take this risk. I could do this for a little while longer and just sail off into the sunset. But being this close to that thing, the prize, and it's the entrepreneur in me wants to go for it. It takes a lot of money. And I think the conversation as we have is, we're at 9 trucks right now. I feel like with what's there, what's attainable, I could be at 50 by the end of the year if I just decide to do it and put the capital out. It's more capital than I got. I have to take a little risk, but so it's right there. I've had this conversation with other people, and they're, without exception, they're all like, "Go for it." It's scary.
Okay.
It's scary. So now I probably need to go find somebody else to help me out with that scary part. You know,
Mm,
not a life coach, but somebody like provide some encouragement or what do you call them? Not a therapist, but just some kind of motive coach type person, a mentor.
yeah, absolutely.
Mentor.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay. Mentor. Okay.
So that's kind of where it's at, and that's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of
Hmm.
stress, a lot of thought. And then when if I go that route, then I got to bring people in to the office here
Sure.
because I'm already past what I can kind of do on my own.
Yeah.
Um,
Right.
so it's a lot of thought. And I talked to my wife, and she's like, "Well, whichever way you want to go, I support you." And I'm like, "Well, you're part of
It's
this
great.
too." And
Yeah.
it's and then I look, which way is the economy going? That's
Mm,
up in the air.
mm,
Uh, and then I got to step back and say, what am I stressing about? Like this is a great problem to have. Like a lot of people would love to have this problem.
yeah.
And then I got to be grateful for the problems I don't have. We have some problems now and then, especially in today's day and age.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. I really don't know.
Well, okay. So just quickly, because you said a lot, right? And I don't mean that in a bad way, but the
Well, that's me, for lack
no,
of a
right.
better word, pouring my heart out. There's probably some things I shouldn't say on.
No,
You know,
well, okay, that's fair enough. But I was wanting to know, like, without you really having to answer anything. So there's different levels, right? There's where, I mean, when you think about it, there was a time where you decided you wanted to uh, go into trucking, right?
hmm
And probably was a that probably was, I don't know how, we never talked about it, but I don't know what that decision was like for you. You know what I mean? Was it stressful? How stressful was it? And then you had a point where, I'm sure there's a lot of decisions you had to make between there to the point where you decided, I'm going to bring on more trucks, I'm going to have more trucks, right? So when you decided to go beyond just you, then there was that learning curve, and there was a decision that had to be made. And so you made that decision, and then you come to now where there's a next level, right? Now maybe when you had one truck, the idea or the goal, or somewhere back in your conscious, it was that, or subconscious, it was about that maybe there was something thinking that you want to have 50 trucks, you know what I mean? Or you want to, whatever it is, you want to go to that level. But you were here, one truck, just you, nobody knows about you, right? And that's where you were. um, there are always these levels, and we have to take these steps, right? And we learn. And things do become more, so to speak, risky, but then the reward becomes greater as well, right? So
potentially.
what? Correct. I mean, potentially. But it's there. No, it's there. It is there. Okay. I'm not going to look at it any other way. It's there, right?
Well, I feel like, I'm certainly nothing special. I'm nobody special. But, behind the scenes, like, I've been through some things,
Yeah.
especially this one thing that's very scary. And I'm like, if that ever happens again, I'm out. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
that can never happen again. So,
Right.
um, you know, that's a holdback too.
So I think too, one of the things is that you had mentioned was, uh, and you still mention it. Um, at one point, it was about surrounding yourself around or developing relationships, right,
hmm
with people smarter than you, more experienced, or whatever the case is, right? So the idea behind that, in my mind, is that is still, the case. Whatever issue or situation you might have been through, then I think it's simple for me to say, but you want to explore that, and be able to be around or communicate with others who can speak upon that. You know what I'm saying? And be able to speak upon going to that next level. So I think the idea is, when you said mentor, right? I think that's a good word, because we all can use mentors. Warren Buff, I'm sure if he tells you, if you ask him, hey, who is it that you look to, or you look to, or what do you read, or what do you, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
This guy, Bill Gates, all these people, they don't stop learning. They don't stop absorbing. They don't stop. You know what I mean? And like you say, you're coming up on retirement age. These guys are beyond retirement age. You know what I mean? And they're
Yeah.
still doing what they do, and they're still learning, right? And it's
Hmm.
because they do have this passion, desire, whatever, and to continue to go on. So I think that you're still a baby, and in your journey. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
you have um, there's so much out there that you could connect with that would probably open up doors that before you thought were pretty darn challenging, right? Will give you the confidence to walk through them. So yeah, I mean, I when I say go for it, I don't mean, hey, just go ahead, get the 50 trucks and go for it. I'm saying look for that support, right? So then you are feeling confident to make that next step, right? So that's my saying, go for it. Don't just stop and be like, you know what I mean? No, I say go for it,
Okay.
definitely. So,
Interesting. Uh, see, that's, I don't want to say easy to say. I don't want to be disrespectful. You know what
nope,
I'm saying?
I hear
But
you.
um, risk, risk is sometimes scary. It's a real thing. I think about it all the time.
Right.
I probably think about it more than most people.
Yeah.
Everything comes with risk,
Yeah.
obviously.
Yeah.
How do you look at that?
Risk.
Managing it, or calculating, you know, measured steps and all that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, like when you say mentor and what, it's funny. And I mean, I'm just going to throw this out there. Okay. And for whatever it's worth, I don't know. God speaks to me in the way he speaks to me. Right. And he puts things in front of me and says, okay, so you were thinking about this last week, right? Hey, here's more for you to think about, in the sense of I'm giving you some answers, right? And so then I can choose to move forward with those answers that were given to me, or I can continue to think about it, right? Ponder it and just worry and be so concerned, because sometimes there's where there are people who will come to me and say, man, Paul, you did this, you did that, that's great, and they're giving me a compliment or whatever, and they're like, man, they'll put it into perspective, you're the first person to do this or do that or whatever the case is. For me, I never thought about it in that way. You know what I mean? That wasn't my motivation, being that first person or to be this or to be that. It was that I had this burning desire, you know what I'm saying, to do a thing, whether it's like with Elevate. I was looking at it today and I was reading some of the stuff and I was like, I wrote this. You know what I mean? I'm like, I did this, but I think when you are in it so deep, right, you don't really know what you're producing sometimes. You don't realize what you're putting together, right? And whether someone else appreciates it or not, you may not realize it until 10 years down the road, right? You can put something together and it's a masterpiece and you don't know it, but you're so in it, so I think there's definitely credit in that you have this deep desire, burning desire to do it, and to go for it. Mother Trucker, I think I mentioned to you about, something he put out on LinkedIn this morning. And man, I was like, I was eating it up. Somebody asked him, should I become an entrepreneur?
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, no. He was like, he said, let me tell you the real deal about it. Right. And he starts showing off. When I say show off, he was showing, some materialistic things. And he said, I'm going somewhere with this. Right. And but he spoke truth. I was able to connect with everything he said. And so I encourage people to check that out, however you do that on LinkedIn. But yeah, he put out something this morning. And so, like I said,
Entrepreneur is, people just equate it with money. And just because you're an entrepreneur doesn't mean the money's going to be there. Entrepreneur is something that's in your spirit and your personality. It may take you 20 years to find that money. You may never find it. But like, I'm a serial entrepreneur. I have like 4 different businesses going, and trucking is the biggest one of them. It's kind of where my heart is at the well, most of it. It's where most of my effort goes. It's the most intensive one. But I have other areas of interest, for my entrepreneurship as well. So if someone says, should I be an entrepreneur? If you have to ask the question, then no. Like, entrepreneur is just something that you are. It's just something that's in you. I love being self-employed. I love being somewhat in charge of my own outcome and situation. I'm willing to take, the good with the bad. It's the hunt. I want to create something,
Yeah.
So if you have to ask the question, should I be an entrepreneur? I'd say 100% no, because you just know it. If you are, you are.
Yeah.
You might not realize it, right? It might take a while to realize it.
Yeah. Here's what I totally agree with you. One of the things I will say is this. I would say, and as far as entrepreneur, this is me personally, I don't know what the definition of entrepreneur is, but I would say, if you are comparing it to a job, I don't think you can compare it to a job, right? Because I believe that you can have a job, right? And you can bring in some income, right? But you got this other thing on the side, right? And that is what really fascinates you, where your passion is, where your desire is, whatever the case is. That's what really drives you, right? But we all have to pay the bills, right?
Right. Yeah.
So in the meantime, as far as can this thing that you're so passionate about cover your bills? Because you might, in terms of becoming an entrepreneur, you may make a lot less money.
Yeah, and, like when people say, well, if I'm going to make that much money as an owner operator, I'll just go be a company driver. Well, then you should. They're not the same. That's like if saying, well, if flying an airplane doesn't go work out, I'm going to be a bus driver. Well, they're just not the same.
Right. Right.
There's plenty of other reasons, to be an owner operator. But if money is the only deciding factor, then it's probably best just to stay working for somebody else, because there's going to be there's going to be times when you do make less money. And if it's that easy to bow out, or if you're, I feel like that statement, you're just looking for a reason to get out. And how about do you like being self-employed? I love it. And it just crushed me to have to, I don't think there's anything wrong with being an employee, but it's just, it crushes my spirit.
Yeah.
Because I always look at my boss and I'm like, you know what? I'm smarter than you, or I could do this better than you, I just can't get that out of my head. And then I got to go do it or try it. Don't always succeed. Come to find out, the guy was probably better than me and smarter than me, but it's just something inside of me. Right. And am I willing to take less money to do it? Yeah. To an extent. Obviously you can't go broke and go to poverty doing it. And if that was the case, if that did happen, I would probably work at a job until I saved up enough money to do it again.
Now, bingo. That's it right there. You hit it right on the head. I think, there's nothing wrong with me getting a job across the street, or wherever the case is, or, do whatever I do I got to make some money. Right. But I've got this thing that's burning inside of me. Right. That, whether it is to work for myself or, again, I look at it from the standpoint of, what you are contributing to society, right? And that doesn't mean that, we have to be all philosophical in that way. But the thing about it is that whatever it is that you do, somebody's going to appreciate it, right? It could be that, whether it's cookies, right? We get our cookie game on, and somebody's going to appreciate that and put that out there in the world, or whether it is in transportation, or whether it is in dress. I make shirts, and I really have an idea about shirts. I'll give you one quick response. Okay, so one of the things I was thinking about, Adam, do you know of a company called C.H. Robinson?
Absolutely.
You ever heard of them? Okay, so C.H. Robinson, and I know you know of them, sorry, but C.H. Robinson, big company, right? So back in the day when I got started in 1999, I got started in terms of transportation. It was with a company called freightquote.com.
Hmm.
And so they were around for a while, but they got started in 1999. I got started with them in 2001 or two, 2002. I didn't know what a freight broker was, right? Didn't know anything about transportation. That was my introduction to this world. Um, they were developing online where LTL, where you could, as a brokerage, and you could go on, get an account, and you could see all these volume priced, discounted prices, whether it was UPS or whomever else. And, as a consumer or as a company, then you could put the order in to pick up your freight and you would get the lower rate. If you went to them directly, it could be $500. You go through them, it was 200, $230, something like that. And they were still
Yeah.
making margin, right? Great model, great company. They grew tremendously. When I started, maybe 100 people. When I left in 2008, maybe, I don't know, over 600, I think. They had moved 5 times while I was with them, I think, or three or
Wow.
something like that. Yeah. And moving it was a good thing. And they would move across the border, go to Kansas, come back to Missouri. And then 2014, the owner, Mr. Barton, he'd sold to C.H. Robinson.
Hmm.
And it was multiple millions, hundreds of millions of dollars, right? So he sold to them. And so with that, he was an entrepreneur. He had made his money doing something else, whatever it was. And so with that, this is something that other companies started to pattern themselves after. You know what I'm saying? House freight quote. Today, C.H. Robinson, you probably heard, they've laid off a lot of their salespeople,
Yes.
right? And what they have put their money in is tech. From what I recall, it was that I remember it seems like some years ago, they were talking about that, right? And so when
Hmm.
I hear about these layoffs, you hear about all these people laying off, these companies laying off. When I heard C.H. Robinson was laying off, I was like, okay, no, they have a plan. I don't know about these other companies, but they have a plan. I don't know if it's a good plan, but I know that they're laying off, and I think it has to do with their technology, right? So I know that they have been in that game for a long time, because when they took Freight Quote, it had to do with that technology, right? So where they're at today, I don't know, but I do know that they are doing well from what I understand from their earnings report. And I also heard that the CEO, what's his name, Dave Bozeman, I think is his name. He's been in tenure for, I mean, no, he's been in the position maybe for a year, I think. He's employing this model of scorecard. It's a scorecard, right? And it's green, yellow, red. So when they get together, and if certain areas are in the green, they're good. If they're in the yellow, well, let the head person take care of it. If he says he's got it figured out, they'll work it out. If it's in red, we're all going to talk about it until we figure out the plan to get this thing out of the red, and then we'll come back together and see where you're at, right? And so I heard about this in a podcast. A guy I've been listening to for years is Mixergy. I don't even know if he's still doing it, but Mixergy, um, uh, Andrew Warner, and it was all about tech, but it's about entrepreneurship, right? Everyone that these people that get into tech, but they're entrepreneurs. And this guy, he came up with this system, this scorecard system. And so when I heard that C.H. Robinson was using something similar to that, I said, I bet that's exactly what they're doing. And so I guess it is working. Um, my thing is this: as an entrepreneur, and you see these big companies, the things that they go through, the ups and downs, they're on a different level, but you're going to go through them.
Yeah.
You got to understand that you're going to go
It's,
through ups.
yeah. That's I don't want to say the easy part. It's the expected part. Like you got to go through ups and downs. It's when you start putting those zeros on the end, and then you're the one that's responsible for those zeros.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's you take on responsibilities you never thought of. Like you have payroll.
But here's the thing, though. for me, right?
Okay.
You do accept, you have to accept those responsibilities, right?
Yeah. Right.
For me, this is just me. The grind is what I love, right? I
Okay.
love the grind. I love going through the challenges, right? The problem solving and all that stuff. Now, when I think about that, I go back to, okay,
Now let me ask you a question first.
yep.
Okay, you like that grind? It's
Oh,
there for you.
oh yeah.
Would you feel differently, or would you be more concerned about that grind if if it was $25 million is on the line and you're on the hook for it?
What I feel,
And,
yeah,
and,
it's no
and,
different.
if,
It's,
and if you fail, you know,
yeah,
a lot of people's families get hurt. You know,
yeah.
people get hurt.
It's the gig. I mean, at
Okay,
$25 million,
fair
I
enough.
obviously didn't go from just me to 25, right? There was a
Okay,
process to getting to that point, right? So I would say that I've grown to that, right? And so as far as that goes, I look at it still the same from the standpoint of this. If I look at it and go back to when I was younger, all the way to now, right? Can I identify, times where I was in that situation where I make a decision and it would impact someone else? And I'll give you an example. It was when I was household finance. I think I was 24, maybe, right? And I was running one of their branch offices. They were a finance company. They did second mortgages and personal loans and stuff like that. And so there was this guy nobody wanted to deal with, right? And I was like, why does anybody want to deal with him? I mean, he would come into the office and everybody would literally run. I swear to you, they would scatter like roaches. Gone. Lights come on, gone, right? And so I was like, you know what? I'm gonna have him come in my office. Came in my office. He was probably 40, right, or so. But he's loud, right, and complaining about his loan and this and that. And I sat him down and we were having a conversation. He would interrupt me all the time, and I just slammed on the desk and I said, look, you need to listen to me, okay? I would appreciate that because you're missing something here, and I think I can fill in the blanks, right? And so we had the conversation, and then when we went through this whole process, and then we get to the point where we're going to redo this loan or create a new loan form, right? And it took some time because it involved the house. We had to go through God, I can't even think of the name, appraisal and everything else, right? We got everything together, and we're sitting there signing the papers, and then he stopped, and his wife was there, and he leaned over and he said, Paul, look, I'm only doing this because you're suggesting that this is the best thing for me to do. And I sat back and I said, okay. And I said, all right, yeah. And he signed the paperwork and we went on. Shortly after that, I don't know how many months it was, I quit. Not because of that. So another opportunity came up and I was, off and running. But I've never forgotten that because I thought about it. I was like 24. I don't even own a house. You know what I mean? And I am making this, I am expressing to this guy, giving him advice as to what he should do. And I'm only 24. This guy's 40. You know what I mean? And so I thought about it. I was like, you know what? I believe that was the best decision. So you have to make decisions. You have to. It doesn't mean they're always going to be right. But if, as an entrepreneur, you totally believe, you know what I mean? If you're committed to a thing, I think then, you just got to go. You know what I mean? You just gotta
Yeah.
go if you totally believe, because everybody's not going to share your vision. Everyone's not going to, you know.
Right.
So
Exactly.
yeah.
All right. Well, I'll take that as clear instructions.
Oh, I wasn't given it as an
I'm
instruction.
only doing it because you said to.
Yeah. Wait a minute. Let's talk about this. Let's back up on this. Have you been watching the Olympics, man?
No, can't stand it. Don't care. I'm tired of multiple facets of that whole thing. I think this is going to prove to be the worst rated Olympics ever. I think France
Okay.
is a failure as a host, and
Uh,
all the nonsense surrounding it. I saw yesterday a female boxer get punched in the face by apparently a man, and I'm just done with this. So I think I went and started mowing grass.
Whoa. I have this, I thought about boxing because I was trying to think. They said like there's 32, I guess, games, and I'm thinking, what are all the games? And I could come up with like 10. I was like, oh yeah, there's boxing, there's this, there's that, and I've missed boxing, but I missed that. Really?
Yeah, that's not the only one. I think there's 2 women beater male boxers in the Olympics. So done with that.
Okay. Um.
It's disgusting to me what things have come to.
Oh my
And
goodness.
yeah. So anyway, enough of that. Let's talk more. Okay. So let's go back to what we used to do about freight. Let's talk
Okay.
about freight. Everybody wants to know. Damn it, I don't have any horn rimmed glasses to put on here. But here, we'll just do this. Okay. What does Freight Waves say about freight? What are we doing here? I noticed that the imports are up. That's a good thing.
Okay.
The
Yeah.
imports are up.
Okay.
But we're seeing increased volumes a little bit. It is tapering off here a little bit. But the rates, not exactly setting the world on fire to come with them. So, I mean, to me, that's a sign of still far too much capacity in the industry. And
Okay.
plenty on the sidelines waiting to come in. Freight could get really busy and things won't change a whole hell of a lot because of the amount of capacity that still has to fall out or something different has to happen.
Mm-hmm.
What are you seeing?
Well, again, I'll be honest with you. Like since we got back from Louisiana, from Matt's, I've been totally so focused on the project, but yet at the same time regarding freight, my understanding is it's kind of a pull forward, right, in regards to this import activity. Where there is, and you probably be able to speak upon it better than I can. That there is an avoidance of maybe tariffs or something of that nature. That it's not a thing that really is a change in like there's not like this huge consumer demand, that is going to take us into 2025 and continue on.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that right now this is what makes sense. It's kind of like if something goes on sale at the store, right? Hey, I'm gonna go stock up on it, right? And then next week we're back to normal. That's kind of what I'm understanding. Am I right?
And guess what? It's August.
Right, and it's August.
A lot of that freight coming is Christmas freight.
Right.
Non-perishable Christmas and holiday trinkets. Holiday freight will never be the same again.
Yeah.
It's going to move early if they can. And they believe there may be a regime change, so they want to ship early and avoid tariffs, like you said.
So then that would say then this season would not be the same, right?
The holiday season won't be.
Holiday season.
It'll be a bust like last year.
Okay.
With the perishables, you
Mm-hmm.
can't ship that, as early. But dry freight, I mean, there's Christmas freight moving.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
then, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
So then, 2 things come to mind. Obviously, one would be, okay, so what do you do now? You know what I mean? And I don't mean like today in terms of your business today, but again, looking 6 months down the road, that's just what I do. And then also, what do you see? I've been talking about this for a while. How Mexico is playing into the freight scene, the freight market, or not even just the freight market, but more so just in economics. I mean, there's a lot of freight that's going through Mexico. There are businesses that are establishing and growing in Mexico. So, and I can't necessarily get into conversation about border crossing and stuff like that, only because I'm not too versed on it, right? But I would imagine that there's a play on that as well. But so what are you thinking about that? Because I've been telling people to focus in on that. There's opportunity that exists.
I know of one big company in particular that's going all in on building a Mexican freight network. They got developing a whole division around it, and there's a rush to that. A lot of bigger companies are establishing a presence on the border, getting customs licenses and stuff like that to be able to facilitate cross-border freight. So there's a lot of that going to happen. A lot of freight is coming to Mexico, then up into the United States, and some manufacturing is coming back to Mexico from Asia, which I find interesting. So that's happening, and yeah, that's going to be a big thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And as far as which way things are going to go, I mean, I hate to talk politics, but you can't talk about it without talking politics, because we're right in that season.
Mm-hmm.
Is it going to go right or is it going to go left? I think if it goes right, just the mere that result alone will spur economic activity. And once that happens, businesses gain confidence. They will start moving. Things will start moving.
Mm-hmm.
And then, naturally from there,
Mm-hmm.
things kind of take care of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And then if things go the other way, they can go one of two ways. They can pretty much stay the way they are, but I think it'll take a hard turn the other direction.
Mm-hmm.
I think it'll embolden them in the beliefs of their policies, and you will get a hard turn in the wrong direction. You will get inflation. You think inflation's been bad? I think you'll get it worse, and it'll go worldwide. Economic activity will decrease even farther. It won't matter what they do with interest rates. Raise them, lower them. They do not have a grip on this inflation. Anybody who goes to the grocery store or just pays attention in day-to-day life knows you're being lied to about that. So we'll see. I mean, which way is it going to go? Hey, we'll find out. Right? Obviously, all of us are pulling for our own direction.
Right.
That's the economic side of it. That's
well, I mean, it impacts us.
Objective.
I mean, it impacts us as entrepreneurs, right? If we're talking about being an entrepreneur, right, and we pay attention to this stuff. I mean, this is stuff to pay attention to, and so it like let me ask you, because you probably know this or have an idea about this, better insight. My understanding is, like, was it cocoa? Cocoa is it's the price of it is gone, shot up. So therefore, things that contain it, whether it's like Oreo cookies or whatever it is, the price is going up. It's planned to go up. Corn, I don't know where it's at, but I understood that there was just, farmers were holding on to it because of the prices on it. So you have all these different things that impact not just the price of things, but the shipping, volume. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying corn is 50% of freight that's out there, but these are just examples of things that, if you know about them, right, you can kind of position yourself maybe. But are there things that we should know about that's happening that, the average person's not thinking about?
Yeah, we are in a no-win situation with interest rates.
Okay.
Either way they move them is going to hurt one way or another. So if one of the ways you slow down inflation is raise interest rates. Now, the problem is the other side of that. What you have to do with it is curb spending.
Of course.
Spending.
Yep.
So if you raise interest rates to curb inflation further, you're going to kill the economy. Businesses are already to the point where they won't borrow money because it's too expensive.
Right.
So just by that, you raise prices due to interest rates. It makes housing unaffordable. It kills the economy. Eventually, it'll kill the economy. Now, if you go the other way and decrease interest rates, will spur the economy like crazy, which will create more inflation as well. Because you move money around, you create more economic activity.
Pushing it through, right.
You make money cheaper. People will start spending money. You'll have more money. It'll be just like COVID. You'll have more money chasing fewer goods and inflation. So there is people think that there's a magic pill here to solve this inflation problem. There's not. The one part that will help, that they will never, ever do and refuse to do, is cut spending. They have to cut spending. Money is a commodity. So do you know what the largest export in the United States is?
The largest export?
Yeah.
Uh,
little trivia for people. Most 99% of people would never get this.
Really?
The largest export in the United States is?
The largest export?
Yep.
Is it a commodity? Is it?
In a way, yeah. Ultimately, yes, it is.
Hmm, I don't know.
It's the U.S.
Uh,
dollar. It's the
the
U.S.
U.S.
dollar.
dollar. Okay.
Yep. It's not corn. It's not soybeans. It's not wheat. It's not war. It's not food. It's the U.S. dollar.
Okay.
Ultimately, at the end of the day, it's a commodity like anything else. More of it devalues it. Less of it makes it more valuable. We're spending trillions of dollars sending it out of the country, spending money that we will never see any benefit from monetarily. By creating all this extra money, you're devaluing the money that's in the existence, which is, in a roundabout way, inflation. So that's the part where they have to cut the spending. The government has to cut spending. So they are devaluing your dollar. This is your money.
So let me ask you though, like, like when you were saying, increase the interest rate, lower the interest rate, it all boils down to a balance, right?
It does.
And
it has to be done gradually over time. You can't make any moves quickly one way or another. You raise them too fast, you stall.
But then the problem comes into play when over time something is not done. You know what I mean? Where it's like, okay, we missed this. You know what I mean? And then so in terms of creating that balance, I mean, if we're talking about increasing the interest rate, it can be where, done too much, and then lowering it too much. So then this here is what needs to happen. Now, with that said, then all these other things that we look at, which is so much fun to me, right? We have to look at all these things to, like if you're listening to economists, you can listen to 100 different economists and get 100 different answers. You know what I mean? It's like no one knows, but everyone is right.
Be wary for someone that has to justify their own existence. They'll talk for the sake of talking.
Absolutely.
It's like asking the head of a government agency if he needs more money. Well, of course he does.
Yeah.
How much? I don't know. Just more.
Just more. Yeah. We got stuff to do. Right.
So we're in a peculiar situation.
Yeah. Well, I say with trucking, transportation's been around forever, and I would literally say forever, and it's going to be, and so
it's going to change. It's very, very much changing though.
Okay, so when we say changing, that's a great topic. What do we mean when we say changing? Because it is always changing. Even when we just talk about from the lows to the highs, there's change. But what are we talking about? Are we talking about some fundamental changes, or what do you mean?
Well, yeah, technology is changing it drastically. Look at just in the last 6 months with the advent of highway and all these things that are supposed to catch fraud and all the fraud going on. What's this industry going to look like when the fraudsters are done with it? Because the fraud is going to provoke reaction, and the reaction to it will likely be permanent. So one of the reactions to fraud is everything that this company Highway is doing.
Yeah.
And the average person doesn't really know everything that Highway is doing. I have a little bit of insight into it because I'm friends with a couple people that are using it, and your mind would be blown. But we'll be stuck with these things long after the fraud is gone. So the rules of the game are changing. I like to say weekly. I have this conversation with one driver. He's like, but we just did this last week. I'm like, yeah, the rules are different this week.
Give me an example. So, like when you talk about weekly, what is that? Or do you have one?
Or? VIN numbers.
Yeah.
Okay. VIN numbers has become a big thing in the last, month or two, where if you, and I'm not saying all these things are bad. They do catch a lot of fraud. All right.
Okay.
But it also affects the people that are doing business legitimately. So Highway looks at all the VIN numbers in your fleet. Now, where they get them is number one from your insurance company. They get an inventory from your insurance company. Number two is your ELDs. So this is also, in the long run, is going to make it harder for people to do business that don't use ELDs. Because if you don't use ELDs, you're going to be flagged as a potential fraudster. Mark my words, this is coming. So if you have a a VIN number operating or under your ELD that is not on your insurance documents, well, the two don't jive, right? Or if you have the broker can match all this up, right? Well, that flags you as fraud and you're cut off pretty much right then and there. Okay, now here's where the problem comes in. I buy used trucks. I never bought a used truck. I sell trucks, trade trucks. Most of us do. Just as a recent example, we had a 2020 Volvo that's no longer in the fleet. It's gone. Well, it's not on my insurance certificate anymore. It's not on my ELD anymore. But highway monitors your ELDs 24/7, 365. Whether you are on a load or not, it doesn't matter what they say. They do it. Because I can have my friend go into highway and look up my carrier. I'm not on, whatever. He can tell me where every one of my trucks are at that moment. Okay, so understanding that, now that 2020 Volvo was purchased by somebody else. It's in somebody else's fleet on their ELD system.
Yeah.
Well, at one time, that 2020 Volvo was with my company.
Right.
Now it's operating under a different ELD. And I can't get them to fix it. I've written highway letters saying,
okay,
this truck is not with us anymore. It's gone.
Right.
Get it detached from me.
So that's a flaw.
It's not in my ELD system anymore. It's not on my insurance certificate.
Yeah.
But at one time it was with me. So now it's under a different MC number. They're flagging that as fraud.
Right.
And multiple, I've had that.
I see.
I have a Mac I just took off the road, having the same trouble with it. Okay. So these VIN numbers move around to different companies. I have like 7 trucks that were at one time before I bought them with another company. So this is getting to be a tangled mess. Okay. I took an ELD. I traded a truck. I took the ELD out of that truck when I got rid of it. I put it in a different truck that replaced it with.
Okay.
Well, now it's a problem that ELD has been in multiple trucks. Well, this is how trucking works.
Yeah. Right.
Okay.
That's not taken into consideration. Right.
Day-to-day business. Okay. And then phone numbers, email address. You can never change. Once you set your company up, you best never change any of your information these days because they have it all. Right. Okay. So, yeah, and we could go way down that rabbit hole.
No, right.
They have emails. They have your rate confirmations. They have driver phone numbers. They have your phone number, addresses, whatever, everything about you. So, yeah. And the problem is once you figure out, you're never supposed to know what they have on you as a carrier. This is only for brokers. You're never supposed to know. So unless you have somebody on the inside that can tell you, chances are you never will know. And then once you do find out, there is no way to connect. There's no mechanism to dispute it or correct it, other than sending them an email. And like half the time they do to me is send me a email back says, we just compile information. Well, I emailed them back. I says, okay, that's fine, but if you're charging money for it, you have a duty to make sure that information is correct. Let me just quickly here. I hate to not read comments. We're just trying to plow through a whole bunch of stuff. Epic Trucking Fails says, thanks for tip your host. Thank you, sir. $10 super chat. Alex, $2 super chat. Appreciate that very much. Sterling
Alex.
Wheel.
Hey, Alex.
$10 seems like fraud is the only thing keeping America afloat on all levels. That's a whole thing. He's not wrong. Fraud is a substantial part of our economy right now. So we all assume that most of the fraud is coming from India, Pakistan, right? So here's another thing the highway does. Every time somebody logs in the highway, which as a carrier, every time you do a packet, update information, it captures your IP address. Same thing with the broker, right? So you can see most of the fraud right now is coming from 2 places: Ukraine and Moldova. I couldn't find Moldova on a map. I know it's somewhere like
overseas,
one of the Baltic countries, maybe by Estonia, Lithuania. I don't know. I'm guessing.
That's what it sounds like. I don't know.
So that's in my mind a good thing. But then, okay, they get caught once using a IP address from Moldova. Why does anybody from that point on give them freight? But they do. So problems and inconsistencies, they're all over the place.
Yeah. So, and I'm sure there's a whole lot a lot of other things. Obviously, there's a thumb can be put on top of some challenges and some issues, right? And
Mhm.
I'm not, and I think, one of the things that you mentioned, some things are easier said than done, right? But, unfortunately, you and I right now can't just, wave a magic wand and it's fixed, right? And figured out. But in our conversation,
People that
um,
regulate us could,
well, I mean,
but they
for
won't.
you and I, right? For you and I
Right.
right now at this moment, we and me, I'm the type of person I love to just, somebody goes over and is in the park and all of a sudden a blade of grass gives them an idea and then all of a sudden, it becomes something and it becomes tangible and it's a thing. And I love that, right? And it can start with a conversation or a thought or whatever. So just you and I here talking. So there are a lot was said here, and the idea is, um, fraud definitely is a major issue. Fraud has been around forever, right? I mean,
Yeah.
fraud has been around before the United States was
Yeah.
founded, right?
And when they're
So
done with trucking, they'll move on to the next thing.
right. And in trucking, I mean, fraud has been in trucking forever as well. I remember years ago when I was a broker, and this was before 2000, before Freight Connect, which was 2014. I remember going to this meeting and the guy was talking about fraud. And to be honest with you, it doesn't. The conversations I hear are the same, meaning in terms of, excuse me, in terms of the volume. You know what I mean? Dollar amount and stuff like. I mean, they're just big numbers, right? Numbers that I'll never get my hands on. So my point is that, um, oh, and then with trucking as well, back then, 2012 or whenever it was, technology has really taken on, and our industry has needed technology. You know what I mean? It's needed advancement, right? And there's no
Yeah.
question about that. And then what was that song? More money, more problems, right? More,
Mhm.
And so that is what we're encountering is more because in trucking, think about it. A lot of us back in the day, in trucking, there's always a pushback. I don't want things to change, right? In trucking, with drivers or carriers or whatever, they want things to stay the same, right? But this is an industry that in anything you can't stay the same. You have to move as society moves,
Mhm.
right? Because trucking is all about the society, right? It's the only reason we exist is because of society, right? So we have to move with society. Technology is a part of that. So as we move with technology and we don't understand it, right? There are going to be people out there that's going to take advantage of this industry, right? Because it's big, it's fragmented, right?
Yes.
There's a lot of holes, right? And a lot of opportunity for that industry of fraud to take advantage of. So now we're in this whole different realm from back in 2012 when I went to that meeting. Now there's all this opportunity for fraud to really, go nuts because society has moved on. Trucking's trying to stay the same. Technology is coming along. Stuff I don't understand. Then they're able to take advantage of it, right? Okay, so that's where we're at today. What I'm getting at is this: is that change is going to continue, and somewhere in here, we have to move with society, move with that change, and that includes this whole issue of fraud. You know what I mean? How do we deal with that? And that does include FMCSA. That includes, whoever's involved. One of the things that you mentioned was, and this is something that I don't remember how it came about, but I was thinking about and wanted to do, and someone had brought it up many, 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 many years ago. I didn't understand back in the day why we weren't taking pictures, when a load was picked up. Why
Mhm.
was, certain things were not being verified? There's a guy, I forget his name, but he's here in Kansas City, and he has a company called Super Dispatch. I don't know if it still exists, but I remember in
Yeah.
2006,
It's the
of
car
that?
hauling industry. Yeah, they use it in the car hauling industry.
Yes. So I had a meeting with him one day, And he was fascinated with, on this side of things because he was car hauling, right? Not freight hauling. And so we met for lunch. And what they did back then, 2016, they would take pictures, right, and do some other things so that it was in the system. And then once it was delivered, you knew everything was okay, or this happened in transit, and everything would be transmitted through technology, right? So you didn't have to deal with paperwork and all that. So it was a great thing. He was on a panel. They asked, what do you think is going to be the next big thing? And you know what he said? He said, flying cars, right? People laughed at him. I didn't. I was like, okay, why not? But my point is this: things do change, and we've got to move with because that's the only thing that, the constant change. It's never, it doesn't stay. Things change. Today, like you said to me the other day, you said, Paul, I do not mind, taking a picture or, doing those things that they're asking of me, for this reason, right? And so right now, that is a solution, an option, right? My question to you is, in moving forward, right, and embracing technology and all that, you know, and not to say, okay, this person needs to make a change in that. If you were today to build a company and say, hey, you know what, here's how we are going to deal with this fraud situation, what would that look like?
Oh, did we freeze up? No, you're there. Okay. Thought we froze up for a second. I've actually had this conversation with somebody trying to get them to do something like this. Okay. So these brokers, the highway sells them on the fact that we can cut out your fraud, right? Just use our service. Well, okay. That absolves the broker from doing any work on their own. I've had brokers, tons of them here recently, where we hauled a load for them last week. Now they switched to the highway platform, and now we got problems. We can't haul for them this week. Okay, because of number one, I have a brokerage, right? That's a problem. And then the VIN numbers, that's a problem. And ELD things, right? So I've called some of them and I've said, hey, let's do this other thing. And like, nope, you're flagged. That's the end of it. Now, 50-50 with these, I've had success and say, let me talk to the manager and I'll tell them the whole story. Hey, here's what we do. Here's who we are. Here's the trucks. Here's this. What do you want for verification? So I talked to somebody recently. I said, you guys already have a somewhat of a platform. I says, here's what I want to see happen. I want you to facilitate a fraud check website or program, however, whatever it looks like, you guys figure it out, where I can go to a broker and say, I want you to vet me. Whatever you want to come to my house, look in my sock drawer, come on with it. Yeah, like, let's have a conversation. I'll send you pictures of all my trucks. I'll give you copies of all my cab cards. I don't think this should have to be done, but I want to do business with you. I want you to feel good about it. I want me to feel good about it. You vet the ever-loving hell out of me, but then once we're done, we're done. We're not going to do this every time we book a load. Until I do something against your rules or upset you or violate your terms, we're good to go. You put a note, you give me a gold star on your computer that says this carrier has been fully vetted by us.
Vet it. Okay.
Cut the crap. Right? Until they double broker or do something bad, cut the crap. They've been fully vetted. Now I'll go down any rabbit hole, any depth you want to go within reason. But that's what needs to be done. They don't want to do that because, number one, it takes resources, time. They'd have to then go and have somebody verify all that information. And let's be honest, most of them are overseas as well. They don't give a damn. They just want their, they want to pass the responsibility off to somebody else. That's why we won't do the picture thing. The carrier doesn't, or the shipper doesn't want to put in that effort. They want to pass that responsibility to the broker and say, you handle it. And then the broker say, well, we didn't charge enough money to bear that expense. So we'll sign up for highway and they'll do all this other stuff. And we're just going to trust that their stuff is good. So we don't have to put any of that work in.
Okay.
That's kind of what's happening. Now, some of your smaller places will go out and check the name on the door. That's great. They should all do that on every single load.
Mm-hmm.
That should be verified. It's not
100%.
that hard. You take 10
100%.
seconds, you walk outside, you look at the name on the door, you compare it with the name the broker said that was
Get
coming
some
to pick
fresh
up the
air.
load, and
Yeah.
there you go. You're
Get some
done.
fresh air. Yeah,
How hard is
absolutely.
that? But at the end of the day, that costs them money and takes effort that they don't want to do. So the buck gets passed all the way down to a company highway that found they could make money off it and do it all through AI and technology. And here we are. And we're stuck with that forever. This is never going away. So
Never
where does
going
that leave
away.
you? That makes you, if you're a small company like myself and you have done you do other things in life other than, drive a truck, you have other businesses, maybe you start a brokerage, this and that, you're going to be very disproportionately affected by this. If you get one bad report, it's like having a bad freight guard on carrier 411. Make it real hard for you to do business. So then what? You're effectively out of business.
You're right. So, I mean, like one of the things that you and I talked about, I mean, you have the other side. If something does happen, then all of a sudden it's a bigger expense. Like, when you say go out and to take a picture and, that takes time, is cost or whatever it is, but that cost, whatever that is, right, I think is far less than if a fraud situation occurs.
Well,
Am I?
we're here for a couple of reasons. Number two, because we're scared to hurt. Number one, because we're scared to hurt somebody's feelings.
Okay.
And number two, because the government won't do their job. So
okay.
if they start with these things and say, we're looking at ABC Transport and their dispatcher is logged in from Moldova. Done. End of story.
Yeah. Right.
We never deal with that again.
Okay.
Or Ukraine. If they're anywhere other than Canada, the United States, or I would say even Mexico, Puerto Rico.
Okay.
Done. No exception. And you can say, Adam, that's racist. Why are you saying people around the world aren't entitled to work or have their own business? That's not the case.
Right.
It's not the case. You know why? Right. Because when the guy from Moldova double and triple brokers your load or gets the driver to steal it, guess what? You have no recourse. What the hell are you going to do to somebody in Moldova that just stole your load? Nothing.
Right.
He's gone. There ain't nothing you're going to do. That's why. It has nothing to do with we don't like these people or those people. That's where we're at now. And how do you catch that? Well, Highway has a platform. You can see their IP address. They have a VPN. Well, guess what? There's ways to deal with that. If you have a VPN, then you got to say, okay, you got to temporarily shut off your VPN and disclose to us where you are. They flag you now for a VoIP, which is I think is good. They're detecting all these things that raise a red flag for fraud. They just still don't do anything about it. They'd rather get on me for a VIN number for a truck I owned last year, which is ridiculous.
So for you, I mean, like, and I am deferring to you, right? Yeah. So then, like, with going back to when I was asking about the cost, right? Someone going out, and this is just there's tons of different things, checkpoints, to things to check off the list to address fraud. But back when I was, I guess you go 2012, whatever it was, I don't remember. What we did was we said, okay, have your shipper go out and check that, make sure that on the side, at least the number is correct or whatever the case is. That was back then, right? That's still valid today, I believe, right? As one of the checkpoints. Right?
Doesn't require a computer or technology either, does it?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. Absolutely.
And you know what? So that is one of the main car hauling. You brought up car hauling. Car hauling is ripe with fraud. Super dispatch is ripe with fraud. Almost everything in car hauling is double brokered, hauled by fraudulent carriers. I know because I have somebody in the business that we talk almost every day, and he's like, "Look what happened today."
Fraud meaning stealing these cars. They steal the cars. Is that
they steal the cars, or it's double brokered? The carrier that he books on the load is not the carrier that shows up to pick it up.
Okay.
It's almost every load. He's like, I'm going to have to start my own car hauling company because I need to get cars moved, and I can't find hardly a legitimate carrier to do it.
But is the result that the car is stolen? That's basically
sometimes it does happen. Yeah. So that's the thing. Last week they had a Lamborghini stolen. He hauls mostly higher end cars. He's had a Porsche stolen.
Yeah.
I believe, a G-Wagon, like all these, it's ridiculous.
Mm. Is that
So,
the one? That's the one that I ordered. Yeah, it didn't show up. No.
and then it's a messy situation because it wasn't the carrier that you hired to pick up the car.
Yeah.
It was a different carrier.
Yeah.
So who's liable?
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Whose
All of that.
insurance is going to pay that claim?
Yeah. All that
And
is
ultimately, it falls back to the buyer of the car.
illegal stuff going on. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So
hey, can you carry this for just a second? I got to go shut my crock pot off.
yeah, absolutely. So then looks like, and I don't know how to get an answer on this. Has Paul used AI in his business operations yet? Thoughts? Great question, and I'm curious what you're thinking in regards to that. AI, I think, is an amazing tool. There's so many different ways that you can use AI. I don't know of all the ways you can use it, but I've definitely worked with it to try and Adam, I was just reading the question there.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah. And so I was just responding to that, and I was saying that I think it's an amazing tool. Just like anything, unfortunately, a lot of people can go the other way with it, use it for fraud or whatever the case is. But I've used it to try and create images, and it's cool. But one of the things, Adam, it does is what I've used, it hasn't been perfect. It'll create these people in an office setting, and it'll give them an extra finger, right, or an extra eye, or missing teeth and things like that. So unfortunately, it's not perfect. But in terms of like coming up with ideas, like I enjoy writing, but
Mm-hmm.
it can be a lot on me because I don't consider myself a writer, right? But I'll write, and I used to do the newsletter all the time and often, what have you. And then I kind of got away from it, and because I was doing other things. But in writing the newsletter, I write that all up, and then I'll go to AI on some pieces of it, and AI will, it'll give me some good ideas in terms of how to present it. So as far as that goes, yes, I use AI. There are times as far as me thinking, just coming up with an idea, and I don't know, I feel like I got, what do you call it, writer's block, or thought block or whatever.
Right.
And I might put something in there, and it comes back with something, and then it kind of kicks me over the edge, and so to speak, over the hump, and I'm able to take it, instead of me sitting here just thinking and then taking a walk across the street, I can just go to AI, and then it kind of helps kickstart me. So that's my answer to that.
So back to the fraud thing for just a second, because I had a thought when I stepped away.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, first, the animal says, "I'm getting tired of having to prove my innocence." Yeah, that's the world we're living right now. And Chief Alex is guilty until proven innocent. Now, if there's one good thing that can come from the fraud situation, is it goes back to what we've talked about, is building relationships. When you find somebody that you're going to do business with, what do? Because neither one of you want to get burned by fraud.
Right.
You cling more tightly to each other.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right. So there's somebody in the chat right now that I've done some business with, and I think we would both hopefully ultimately prefer to do it that way. Like there's a certain amount of relief you get when you do business with somebody, or you give them a load, or they do something for you or whatever, that says, I can give this person a load and not have to worry about
it.
Yeah. I think a lot of people, I hope a lot of people are going to go back to that, because that's really all we can do. That's the thing that's in our power to do, is to say, you know what, I don't like the way this highway or all this stuff is going over here. So I'm going to disengage from that business model, and I'm going to do these other things over here with a like-minded group of people that also want to do it that way.
Yeah.
Which incidentally is a better way to do it anyway. I think if we ultimately all did that, things like highway and these 411, that's the way to take away their power. They
Yeah.
have power because Gear Logistics uses them to have people haul their freight that they don't know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we do have that power left. Yeah, as Chief Freight Hauler says, sadly, some relationships have disappeared because of highway. Yeah, I've experienced that.
Mm.
There's people who've
Wow.
hauled it. One of them I just got back last week. I wrote a letter. I've been writing a lot of letters lately. I wrote a
Mm.
letter to Armstrong Transport. We hauled a decent amount of loads for Armstrong. All of a sudden, one
Mm.
day we call on a load and said, nope, we can't approve you. And they wouldn't tell me why.
Mm.
I made it to management, and I called carrier relations. I said, what's going on here? Like, we've hauled a good amount of loads for you. And
Mm.
find out that it was an issue of, they started using that, and it linked me to my brokerage, which is
Mm.
not the same address, not the same phone
Mm.
number, but it's my name. I'm like, every carrier has a brokerage. I said, here's what we do.
Mm.
We haul seasonal produce.
Mm-hmm.
Not giving you the name of my customer. I says, we've never done 25 years. I've never double brokered a load. I never will. But, if you need to know, here's what we do. And we talked about it a little bit. And they said, okay, we'll turn you back on.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
that was good. But it doesn't always go that way. I got something
Right.
that shut me off, and they're shut off. So
yeah. I know back in the day, man, when I was a broker, and we would run into situations where we were not approved, right, by a factoring company, and then we had to plead our case. You know what I mean? And and that's what I'm hearing. And so again, what I hear is, we deal with the same thing, we're still dealing with the same things, but on a different level, or because now we have this technology, and, it takes it on a whole nother level, because we have the fraud, it's elevated, in regards to us having to deal with that. And then we have, how do we remedy or mitigate it, right? And then that becomes elevated, right? And then we're here in the middle, right, as a carrier, and it's like, we have to deal with it on both ends. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm just trying to make a living here, and I'm getting it from both ends,
Yeah.
So, mhm.
Yeah.
So
So
it's,
Sterling, so you're saying highway is a social credit score of the trucking industry, evil and brilliant. In a way, I'm
yeah,
coming to a social media page near you.
yeah. And, and so, I mean, with all this that I'm listening to you, and then there's all these different things that were going through my head, and more so trying to think of, something to make things better. I mean, again, like, okay, so if you go to a factoring company, or a factoring company is involved, right? Is Highway involved as well? Are they using Highway
So
to
okay,
make these
let's
decisions?
let's talk about that. They have everything. When you sign up as a brokerage, they make you do a data dump from your TMS. They get every rate confirmation. They get apparently they get emails too, IP addresses, phone numbers, pretty much everything. So think about this: what could somebody do with that information?
Of
If they
course.
have all that information,
Right.
what could they do with it? And then if they choose to do something with it, how does that affect the industry? And who can compete with that?
Right.
Even
Right.
I can't, a brokerage that owns a factoring company. I've always had a problem with that.
Uh-huh.
So what can they do with that information? This goes far beyond that. They could create a world dominator brokerage. They could run every other brokerage out of business ultimately, eventually.
Okay.
They could,
Right.
lobby for certain legislation that affects them that nobody else really can catch on to, because they're the only one that has the information. They could do whatever they want to do, anything. Sell it. They're certainly going to sell it. You don't have all that information and not make money off it.
Sure. Right. Right. And I think that, when you say that, that information is so powerful. I mean, I remember way back in the day, I was like, man, it was 2012, 2008. And I was like, when I started working, a guy asked me, did I want to help him run a brokerage, and that's when I left Freight Quote. Freight Quote, great company, and I did. And then I was like, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're just going to collect a lot of information. You know what I mean? Like whoever we work with, collect this information. Collect. I didn't know what to do with it, right? But we wanted to. I just wanted to make sure we had a place where we collected all the information. 2016 came along, 15, and it was all about big data, right? And didn't know what to do. Nobody knew what to do with it, right? But you knew it was going to get figured out, right? And then now today it's like, okay, we know how to use this information, how to process it, right? How to, you know, use it to our advantage. And so we're there now, and it's all about collecting information, right?
And just think, with the advent of AI,
Yes,
you know,
absolutely.
all the things that AI is going to do over the next how many years, we have
Yes.
only scratched the surface.
Uh,
AI
uh,
is going to find all kinds of new ways to use this information.
Bingo. And I believe that
I don't think any of it's going to be very good for us. I'll tell you that.
yeah,
So, well, to an extent, you know,
well, no,
medical
no, 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 no.
advancements, stuff like that. But
Well, no, no, no. I mean, I think like what you're saying, there's always this side and there's always that side. Like, so when we're talking about AI, I don't know everything about AI. I remember chatbots and I was really into it, but I thought back then in 2000 and
so
I can't
you're the
remember
guy.
what, huh?
You're the guy that kept spamming my chat. Or yeah.
No, it wasn't me. It wasn't
Okay.
me. But as far as that goes, I was really into it, but when I got into it, chatbot, and I was learning how to create them, I thought it was something different, right? And what I thought it was what AI is today. You know what I mean? So that's what I thought it was at the time. But so now here we are. So things continue to advance. So now when we talk about back in 2016, gathering all this data, right? And now we're talking about AI. In between, there was a computer called Watson. Do you remember
Yep.
that? IBM.
IBM
Okay.
Watson. Yep.
Yeah. So we have, where all this stuff is coming together, really, where we have all this data, and then we have AI, and then it's like there, that can be an amazing result, or it can be something that is just pure evil, right? So what you end up having is a Marvel Comics movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have this thing that is created out of AI, this superhero that's created out of all this data and AI, and then you have this evil villain, and now they're battling against each other. So I don't know what that's going to look like. Somebody from Hollywood's going to have to write that script, but I do
Just read your Bible. You'll find out.
read. Well, okay, there we go. There, you know what? And look, these things that exist, I mean, these are things that are real right now, right? And so for that, it's not far-fetched. You know what I'm saying? This stuff is not
The,
far-fetched.
the,
So
the technology exists to pretty much make anybody believe anything that somebody wants them to believe.
mm,
It's very shortly here. You're not going to, not that you can now, but you're not going to be able to take at face value anything you see, read, or hear. You won't be able to believe your very eyes. AI is going to change that. Your very eyes or ears, you're not going to be able to trust them.
mm.
So then at that point, what do you do?
Did you ever see? Now this was on a different level, but did you ever see WandaVision? It was I think
No.
Netflix. It was okay. So it's Marvel Comics and one of the superheroes, and then she created her own world, right? And so everyone that was in that bubble, right? They all thought what she wanted them to believe. It was her reality, right? And people tried to escape from that and what have you. But yeah, it is. Like there's so many things I'm thinking, man. If you have a trucking company and you want somebody to, you can write and create something that will and develop something that gives them an impression of something totally different. If you're in a whole different country and you're doing business here, you can make it look like you're here. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
there are, and it's easy to do. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? So it's very easy to do. So with that said, on the evil side, going to the positive side or the good side of it, if you're trying to be legit, right? which I encourage everyone to do, there are ways to move your business along. You know what I mean? There's ways to do that. Sometimes like for me, like I just talked to someone and she told me that someone she's working to put together a business plan. A business plan. There's some things she wants to do, and so she needs to create a business plan. And she said, I think a relative of hers went and paid. I could be totally wrong on this. I think I am. $2,000. I don't think it was 2,000. That just sounds way too much. But spent a certain amount of money to create a business plan for her, right? You can use AI to help you create a business plan. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it does not cost you a dollar. You know, I mean, you can create a business plan. So my point is that you can use current technology, right, to really be a benefit to you. You know, and in creating that business plan, the way I always look at it is that a business plan, you put it together just so that it's in your packet, and it really doesn't do anything. But yet, I really think that there's a lot of benefit to a business plan. You know, so AI can help you in terms of modeling that business plan or developing that business plan. So to me, that would be a use case that would be helpful to you, because you might not be that type of person that, you know, can just sit down and create that. You know, you may need help with that, and you go get help and you can pay for that, or you can utilize a tool that can help you to do that, you know. So um, there's the evil side, and then there is I think the good side, you
And
know.
we'll see which nature of man wins out, the good or the evil, right?
I,
Ultimately, it'll become that, really.
I yes, sir.
It'll be whatever people want it to be.
I
Whoever
yes.
whoever has the money.
Ask Mark Twain about it. Absolutely. So
Yeah.
yeah, there was something I wanted to ask you. Let me see. I'm serious. And elevate. Gosh, I thought I wrote it down, and I doesn't look like I did. I don't remember. Okay, I'm sorry. That's all I got.
That's it.
Yeah, you know what? And I have something here, and I have dollar signs, and I don't remember what it was about. What I was gonna. So.
Bet you is about money.
Let me see. If I turn it upside down, yeah, it still looks the same. So you're probably right. I don't know what that was all about. So, but
Okay.
but one thing I will say, like in all that we're talking about, and please forgive me, it's just because my mind has been so focused, you know, on what I've been doing. As far as like with the CRM, I really am encouraging people to go and sign up. It doesn't cost them anything, but you can put your leads in there and you can follow them, follow your leads. You know what I'm saying? I don't care, even if you can go find another CRM. I don't care what you do, right? But find a systematic way to follow I do care, but I'm saying, you know, I do, you know, there's a lot of other things that we're going to be presenting, I think are going to be hugely beneficial that, you know, other CRMs are not presenting. And mainly because this is focused on the trucking industry with what we're doing. You know, I just talked to a young lady the other day, and she said she'd been following myself, and, you know, she finally came up with some money to purchase our training program. We've adjusted that. The pricing has changed, but our CRM is heavily involved with supporting you in your efforts. But this whole thing of finding opportunities, right? It doesn't have to be difficult, right? It does have a learning curve, right? For you, as you said, you know, we've been communicating for the past 4 years or so, and there's great value that you found in connecting with others, sales, and how important all that, you know, is, and how valuable it is, and going from you being just the sole driver to having 10 trucks, right? You can stay where you're at if you choose to.
Okay.
Period. Done. There's nothing more to say. You can stay there. That's your choice, right? But know this: you have other choices. You see what I mean? You have, if you want to grow, if you want to develop, if you want to move forward, if you want to have a different life for your family, if you want to, right? Again, I encourage you to go to Mother Trucker's video, which is on Instagram, not Instagram,
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn, my bad, sorry, LinkedIn, and you will hear what he says. I mean, you see him doing videos and all this stuff, and right, and he's giving you what the news that you need and the entertainment and all that stuff, but there's work in that, right? He looks at that as a business. That is a business that he's operating, right? To bring that to you and to bring that value to you, right? Myself, I've been doing this for a long time, and then just here recently really been involved in this project. Whatever one might see, it doesn't come just at the snap of a finger, right? It comes at really working at it, really being thoughtful, and really staying up all night. You know that, right? Staying up all night trying to figure these things out. Your business, you, Adam, going from the 1 truck to 10 trucks, right? You learned a lot. You know what I'm saying? You learned in terms of communicating with others, how others are, and how to get to the next level, and how to be thoughtful and having a team, right? And developing a team, you know? So you're going to another level. So nothing comes easy. COVID came, unfortunately. A lot of people got into our industry. A lot of people made money. And then a lot of people started thinking, wow, this is hard when COVID
Yeah.
went
When it
away,
went away.
right? Yeah, this is hard. This is, you know, and so for that, you have to decide, am I going to stick with this? Not just weigh it out, but am I going to make changes? Am I going to figure it out? Am I going to do what it takes? Listen to Mother Trucker's his video, and he will tell you one of the things he said. I'll leave it at that. He said, "You know what? Unfortunately, I hate to say it." He said, "In this, it's like your baby, but everyone else comes second. Your family, you end up putting them second."
Yeah.
And
The sacrifice is tremendous.
yes, he has exactly what he said. You know, he said, you end up putting this, he said, I hate to say it, you know, he said, I'm working on that, but for the past 10 years or however long he's been doing it, this has been my life, you know. And he said, I don't have kids, but as far as a baby goes, I believe that that's what, and I would say, I say it all the time. I talk to people and I say, this is like your child. What would you do for your child, right? You would not just leave your child on the curb. I don't know, some people might, but you were not just going to leave your child on the curb and say, I'm done. You know, you're going to sacrifice and do what you got to do and raise that child to you know, be successful. And that's the way he equates it. He equates it to having a child, right? But he puts everyone else second, you know.
Yeah.
So it's you got to have that desire and that heart and that passion and all that, and that's okay, you know. And you and myself, we're trying to put that information out to support people, and I encourage you to go to elevatefr8.com, check it out, and sign up. Doesn't cost you anything, but we'd love to work together and see how we can help.
Are you still, providing sales training or helping people in that matter of, with direct freight?
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. You make me smile when you say that, when you ask the question,
I
because
tell you what, because if you haven't figured it out by now, if everything the industry's been through in the last couple of years with rates and people being mad at brokers and this and that, transparency issue, go create your own damn transparency. Make it for yourself. If you think brokers are screwing you, go get your own damn freight. Like, if you're so mad at brokers, if it ain't a great way for you to do business, then there's other ways to do it. So rather than point the fingers and blame it somebody else, put the work in, and try to create your own thing here.
Adam,
and Paul can help you do that.
Adam, here's the one thing I will say based on what you just said. I mean, you're spot on with what the environment that we're developing. You will be able to have an account where you can put brokers and put shippers in or whatever, that you're following, that you're working with. You have them in your network. We can also add shipper opportunities, leads or what have you. We can follow them on your behalf, right? And then those that we make a good connection with, we can add them to your account, and you end up creating your own network, right?
Oh,
You
okay.
you will have your own, like you log in, and this is your network of carriers, brokers, and what have you that know about you. I mean, they'll probably know about other carriers and what have you, but these are the ones that you are connecting with, right? And so you're developing your own network of carriers, brokers, your little world, your Wanda world, I guess, vision, whatever. But that is what to me, what you just said, I'm all about do something about it. And then what we're about is let us give you a platform that helps you to do that, you see. And so that's what we're talking about, is giving you an opportunity to create that world that you've been trying to develop in this chaotic
Excellent.
world we're in. Yeah.
There you go. Cheap freight hauler is going to reach out to you. Says he's a shipper playing hardball. Thinks you could help work that all out. That'd be excellent.
Absolutely.
Most important question of the day. My wife just surprised me by getting some new hats made. So I'm wearing one of them, the orange one.
Man, I love that.
Orange or green? I'm kind of partial to the orange. What do you think?
I'm all, man, I've got some orange tennis shoes, and man, I just feel energized every time I wear them. I
kind of like it. I'm digging this. She brought home a whole box of them. Gotta be like 20 of them in there. So
are they different colors, or
just these two colors? Just
those two colors.
But I kind of dig the logo and all that.
Yeah.
Cool.
No, I love it.
Yeah. I'm digging it.
Love it, man. So two things. One, the orange, thumbs up on it. I don't know what everyone else says, but I go with the orange. And then second, I think I saw this. Our guy.
Oh, he sent them to you too? Yeah, he got me a bunch made. Although he got me one kind of rainbow colored here, so I don't know if he's trying to say something here. But
man,
I got two for me and two for the wife.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I was really excited when he said, "Man, what's your address?" He said, "I got something for you." I was like, "Okay." And then this came in the mail, man, and I was like stoked. And I'm like, yeah. So they kind of hang out with me wherever I'm at in the office. So yeah,
that's pretty cool. Thank you very much, Vic.
Yep.
And,
We'll
see you again at Matt's next year. Yeah. Cheap Ray Holler, green. Sterling says green. Cheap Ray Holler, I did a hat. Are they included with the fuel card? There you go. I'll send you. Sign up. I'll send you one. There you go. I don't know. I don't have them in my merch store because they didn't make them. So I don't know how to sell these. I guess if somebody wants one, just email me and I have no idea what they cost. I did whatever it costs plus shipping, I guess.
Yeah. But, you have a box of them, you say?
I do. I think there's probably like 20 of them in there.
20 of them. Okay. Well, she did good. Did she order those? I mean,
yeah, we got them made here locally.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And then that's stocking hats too. What did she got? She made me a bunch of stocking hats, and I should have given you. I'm gonna send you one because I know you're not flush with hair, so we got to keep that. We got to keep that melon warm. I don't have one on. Oh, there's one. Let me grab it quick. I'll show you.
Pulled it out of the truck.
She ordered these in green and gray. A little different.
Man, it looks so professional.
I know, right? So
yeah, he done did good. I like that.
Not that anybody cares about my channel anymore. You know one thing, YouTube's funny. You're just starting YouTube, so I'm gonna just keep plugging them out because.
All right, now, Adam, you went out and I missed what you just said. As soon as you said that,
I said you just started a YouTube channel. Let me give you some advice. If you start making videos, you keep on going. Don't ever stop because once you take a pause, YouTube don't love you anymore.
Oh, okay. Good advice. Thank you very much. All right, and I'm telling you, man, what you do is one, not just I feel like I think it's hard, at least maybe because I'm not where you're at this point, but I think it's hard. I think it's admirable. I think it's valuable, and I appreciate that you do it because you don't have to. You know what I'm saying?
No,
You don't
and
have to.
that's the struggle. I wish I could put everything out there. I've been through some things that are people could learn a lot from.
Mm,
Unfortunately, things are private.
mm,
Yeah,
right.
off the air, yeah, I talk to different people. Um, there's a lot of people in the YouTube world that just for one reason or the other can't behave themselves, and you're not going to give them any ammunition. So,
Mm,
um, yeah, it's way more. You know what I'll tell somebody if they're going to go out and start a fleet or grow their company. It's this thing right here. Put,
calculator.
yeah, put it away, because if you're like, oh, this is my cost per mile, and this is what I'm making, this is one more truck and this much, and you're going to come up with these numbers, and they're going to create a false narrative, false reality for you, because there's a lot of things that are going to happen that can't be quantified by a number.
Uh, I get
And,
that.
and sometimes if you're only focused on a number, sometimes you're going to have to do things that don't make any sense to satisfy a customer, to fix a situation.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're hung up on, I won't haul for less than this, or I'm not going to do this because I'll lose money on it, or somebody wants me to do this and I'm not going to do it because this is my number. You know what? It's going to create a terrible situation for you.
Mm,
Sometimes things aren't going to make sense according to a number, but you have to do them anyway, or you should
mm-hmm.
do them anyway,
Yeah.
because it could solve a situation. It could lead to a long-term relationship or
Mm-hmm.
success, or prevent a massive failure,
Mm,
prevent a lawsuit.
mm-hmm.
Wait till your first situation comes along where you're going to get sued
Mm-hmm.
because you didn't act in good faith.
Yeah.
Acting in good faith is huge, and it's hard to
Yeah.
quantify that with a number.
Yeah. That when you say that, I think back in my broker days, man, and it was where sometimes it would be like, we'd make a lot of money off of a load, and it's like, wow, okay, yeah, you don't come across this every day, but all money ain't good money, right? And
Mhm.
we had some failures, and learned from them. And I just remember this one. This guy was going to take this load from New York, somewhere over there, New Jersey, I think it was, to California, right? I don't know what that rate is, but back in the day, I got an awesome rate, right? And then it got stopped. The truck got stopped in Missouri. And I think we were hauling fish, is what it was. I mean, it was a good customer of mine, right? And this truck took it for a low rate. And it got stopped. They opened it up. And I don't even know how I found out about it, but there was this ton of cash that was found on this truck.
Oh my
And
gosh.
yeah, I was like, the guy told me to drive it because I think I was checking to find out where the truck was, what was going on. And he told me that he got stopped and they took all this money. They took the money. And I was like, what money? What are you talking about? Yeah, it was in the load. And I said, I have no idea what you are talking about. And I called my customer and he said, what are you talking about? He said, well, since it was on our load, I mean, do we get to keep the money? And I was like, look, I'm out. I'm just trying to get this thing delivered. I don't know what's going on. And yeah. And so I don't know who was involved with this money that was found. I haven't a clue. But my point is that, it was really cheap. The driver took it for cheap, you know. And so I had to assume it had to do with the driver, right? Or it had to
Yeah.
do with that company. So my point is that, sometimes it's not always good money that you're getting, so you just have to think about that sometimes.
You could kill it on 100 loads in a row, and then one person or situation come along and wipe that all out in one day.
That it can happen. It
Yeah.
definitely can happen. Somebody told me you're not going to get rich off of one load, right?
No.
So yeah.
You got to build a system, an efficient system, and count on people. Really.
Absolutely.
Well, all right. Any 2 hours? I've held you up long enough. I sure do appreciate your time. This is a good one. I think we talked about a lot of different things. I think I'm going to cut this up into some different segments here. You're welcome to use it on your channel too if you like. And
Awesome, my friend.
let's not let it be so long. Oh, I just lost Paul. He bailed on me. Okay. Well, I guess it's just me now. Everybody, thank you for coming in. Take care, and we will see you next time.